So I did some research, looked at the chips, wasn't really able to maybe glean too much from them. You know, one's a RAM chip, the other one looks to be some kind of transformer of some kind. I really can't make out what it is. The one that has very little labeling on it, the first one, I could find nothing on it. So if it is a processor, it's a processor I've never heard of, which is quite possible. I'm not the most skilled person. So I figured we'll fiddle around a little bit and see if we can maybe backtrack the microphone and see if we can maybe find out where it's going and take a look at it. And in theory, we should be able to hook up a scope of some kind to it and just yell at it and see something come out of it. I think. Okay, so let's take a look here. So there's, again, right there's our microphone, right there. Now, I mean, it could just be a damaged membrane too, and I'm not really certain. But one thing I figured we'd do, because we're here, we're going to remove the flash. And all you have to do is slide it up, and it unlocks, and then the little gate thing kind of folds up and out of the way, and then this chip should just kind of fall right out. And I guess we don't really need to do that, but, you know, we can kind of look at it and go, hey, look, a flash. Oh, it's an 8 gig flash. That's kind of interesting. I think the product thing that I bought said it was a 4 gig, so maybe there's some kind of software limitation or something, but there's the internal. I'm guessing that this is where all the actual images get stored and video gets stored, so that's pretty cool. So there's an 8 gig flash in there, even though the product thing, I believe, only said 4. But then we got a little carrier, probably some filtering in there or something. So I'll just give that guy a close and kind of lock him closed so it doesn't flop open while we're screwing around. Okay, so let's take a look. Well, I mean, I can already kind of see that this guy, let's get zoomed in a bit. Oh, it's really kind of hard to see, but this guy goes underneath this resistor around, and then it ends up at this point right there. Based on the silk screen, it kind of looks like there's something that might go there, but you know, where'd my clip lead go? So I've got one probe and another probe, and we'll just set our meter to ring. Why not? Because come on. Oh, got to put it in the right mode first. There we go. So we should be able to kind of work our way around the circuit a little bit. I'm going to zoom back out. There we go. So we should be able to, like I said, just ring our way around. Drop my probe. Devastating. Just kind of from here, just going to confirm that. Yep, right there to this resistor right here, and then we'll just kind of jump to there. I'm not getting a ring across that resistor, but that could be because we're in the wrong range, maybe. Yep, it's a 1K ohm resistor right there, which then that jumps from there to, I think, here. Oh, let's get it better. I need a way to hold things under the scope better, I think. Oh, okay, so it's really hard to. So we jump to there and there. We got another 1K ohm resistor there, which then we jump across. Oops, I think I was touching my own probe there. Come on. Okay. To this resistor here. That's almost like a 0 ohm resistor right there. To there and there. Anything over here? Yeah, so it jumps from here to there to there, and then it also jumps back to this little point right there. At least it did just a second ago, I thought. Oh, it's that one right there. So there, so that resistor there, that capacitor there, and then that little point right there. Come on. No depth perception. Slows things down. Nope. Okay. Ah, sliding over. Nothing there. There. Seems like this has got about nothing. Nothing to do with it. Okay. So we go through a cap, and then there's a little trace right there. I think wants to just fall. Darn it. Need like a Play-Doh or something to just blip this thing into. And then maybe silly putty or something. I don't know. Something to help me kind of debug this a little bit. Okay. Come on. So, yep, there to there. And now we got another... What are you? Got another resistor here. And then this trace kind of goes down this way, which is towards our power area, and it actually ends at that via right there. I don't think that via goes... Well, it probably goes somewhere, but let's get a better view here. So it ends at that via right there, and on the other side, that via is just all alone, looks like. But I can almost swear I can almost see through the board a little bit there. There's the via. There might be a third layer to this board that I just can't see. Let's see if we can look at the edge here real quick. See if we can get a focus on it. Oh, there might be another layer in there. It doesn't really look like it, but it's possible, I guess. So, I'm guessing, not really certain here, but that via, let's blow it back up so I can see what I'm doing. That via might be connected to something. Oh, it's got to be connected to something over here. See if we can peg it down. Oh. Well, let's get... where's... Oh, there it is. Yeah. Pinch my meter in the drawer. That's never good. Let's get our X-Acto knife out here a little. Find that via again. It's right over here by the transformer. Working with scopes. Okay. Get our blade. Get in here and kind of compromise the silk screen just a little bit. Gotta be very careful so I don't damage that guy or any of the caps. But what I'm just trying to do is take off the layer insulation here. Let's see if it goes somewhere else, but I also don't want to damage the via too bad. Just trying to give it a little bit of a shave. You can kind of see that there's a little bit of copper now. Blade looks like a massive Looks like a Hulk at this point. Okay. So we do have a little bit of copper now. Zoom back out. That might be enough to probe around with. Just enough of a connection to... Let's see if I can get on there. Ah! This thing just keeps wanting to move. This is not the right device. But what device to be proper with? I don't know. Maybe if I tape it. I have some electrical tape here. And just oversize the tape a little bit here and kind of reach across the whole device. Now it's stuck to the paper. Okay. But let's see if I can come in here. If I can get my point in there. Just tap around, see if I could find... Hello? Oh, I just bumped my probe. It's fooled me. There's a chance in hell I'm gonna actually make a connection here. No. Okay, so wherever that goes, it eventually ends there. It ends on this big solder blob. So it ends up in whatever chip that guy is. And can we read what it says? It says S1. Useless to me. Could be anything. So we come down here and then somehow that goes, makes its way over to the pin here on this transformer, which might be the power output or ground from our ground side of our microphone. Let's flip this guy back over, and I almost... Hey, you're supposed to be closed. Stop being a pain in the butt. Okay, there we go. Kind of wish I could... Where's the end of my thing? There it is. So, that big solder blob right there is where our via ends. With that knowledge, what does that buy us? I don't know if that buys us anything, but I can kind of see that there's a decent sized trace there, and it looks like it connects to this cap, which we can just confirm that real quick. Yep. And that probably runs to there also as well. Whoops. So that big resistor there is part of the circuit. Again, I think I'm either on the power or on the ground off of that whole muggamaroo. Alright. The only way I can really kind of confirm that is by what? Oh, I know how. We'll zoom out. And what we'll do is we'll get a piece of... we don't really need it. We'll just hook on so we can see that trace ends right... Where's my probe? Ends right there. So that's the same as the other side of the via. So if it's a part of the grounding, or the other side of the power supply, it might connect over here. So let's hook up over here. So maybe get on right there. Okay, whoop. Okay, let's get my tape back out. Whoop. Let's get this guy positioned. And we'll use the tape again to kind of give the board some reason not to move. Okay, come in, touch on there, and yep, that is the plus side of our microphone circuit, I believe. Alright, cool. I'm gonna take a quick break and look up some microphone circuits and see if that can help me kind of figure out the way that whole thing will work. So, because now that I've got kind of an idea where, okay, so, you know, under the scope, come on, that side of the microphone is the plus side. So if I'm able to, I don't know what I'm going to do there. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to take a look though. So with some spider wire in hand, which is just little tiny wires. This one's white, and then I just dropped it on the floor. Oh, come here, Mr. Spider Wire. Some blue and some white spider wire. I'm gonna hook up the power so that we can, you know, power it via the bench power supply. That way I can kind of manage it before I have to hook the battery up and kind of mess with all the rest of that. So hopefully, in theory again, I should be able to power the system on via the little button on the back, and hopefully I'll see something come out of the speaker. I'm also going to hook up a couple of flying leads off the speaker so I can hook it up to the scope, which is now kind of alive and just kind of sitting over there. So I can actually see what's going in and see what's coming in on the plus side and what comes out on the negative side. Fingers crossed on this one. Got our wires. Don't need you in here anymore. Don't need you. Got my iron is nice and hot. Let's come over here. Oop. Get my iron kind of in position. I like it. Clean my tip. Looks good. So I'm going to start by kind of halving this blue one down. I grabbed a pretty decent sized chunk for what I'm doing. So in this case, I'm going to make blue ground and white power, because that sounds like fun. Sounds like a thing. Come on, there we go. Alright, and in theory, if I have enough nail, which I don't anymore because I cut my nails, should have been able to just strip that, but I can't. So, grab a little bit of something. Hopefully this will strip it for me. Nope. It's very tiny wire, so I have to... Normally I have a pair of really kind of wire strippers around here, but apparently I've gotten rid of them. I'm gonna have to find some wire strippers. Alright, with my wire strippers found, I'm just kind of prep this end. Come on. There we go. I'll just trim it down because I don't really need that much. Just a little, and especially because when I use the iron on it, the insulation coating is just going to also kind of get cut off, or not cut off, it's going to melt away. Alright, got a nice little end. So there's my plus side wire. I'm using just a tiny wire here. There we go. That's one side. And yeah, side. Cool. Wait. Yeah. This is going to be the diagnostic side, or hookup side. So now let's come in. I'm going to get some really tiny solder, because it's a very tiny little pad. And what I'm going to do is just kind of add some more solder. Really what I'm doing is just kind of getting some more flux in here, because I already hooked it up once and all that other jazz, but I'm just trying to kind of clean the pad up and get me a spot that works for me. Okay, and I said blue was minus, right? Kind of in the wrong orientation for this, but make do. So blue is minus. I'm gonna hook it. Try that. Okay, come on. Oh, got something in my way. There we go. Can't see, don't have any depth perception from this angle. Whoa, I got a little bit of cross there. I don't want that. I want my powers completely isolated from each other. Okay, so there's the negative, which is kind of a very craptacular job. So I'm gonna get my tongs out, put a little pressure on it, and hopefully come in here. Oops, did I mess it up? Oh, it looks good. Looks good. Clean the positive up a little. Alright. Same thing, different verse. Same as the first. Let's just get in here with the negative one, or the plus. Plus, white is plus, right? Using the marks on the board too. I'm not sure how well we're gonna do here, but let's get in there. Ah, look at that. I like that one. Getting better and better. Okay, so we got our power leads. That's cool. Now, I'm going to take another little chunk and let's reposition ourselves so we can see the microphone pretty decently. Okay. I'm going to clean up this wire and attach it to one side of the microphone. And let's first get in there with some new clean solder. So you can see that the microphone itself didn't really get a good solder job. I mean, it's there, but there's not really a lot of solder to speak of on it. So, you know, it's not really well done. And who knows? Just the fact of doing this might actually fix the problem, just because it's somewhat connected. Who knows? So I'll give him a new lease on life there. Strip this other end, not connected to the board. Okay. And give this just a quick trim down, because we don't need that much. Okay. Going with our theme of white is plus, I'm going to connect it to what I theorize is the white is the plus side, the plus side of the microphone. And just like before, I'll strip down my blues. This will be the other side. Okay. Turn her down. Okay. And come in here. I don't want these to be really on the same side of the microphone membrane, only because I really don't want these to touch and interfere with each other, because it might give me a false reading. So, okay, I think I'm on. Might also be touching the can, which is probably a no-no in this case. So let's move some stuff out of the way here. Kinda come back in here. Get him. Let's trim him even tighter. So there's almost nothing. Because I really want that to act isolated from the rest of the system. Now, in theory, I guess I could just tie on to those two other points, but I didn't think about that until right now, and you know, I guess I just didn't think about it. Okay, so there it is. Got that hooked up. I'm gonna untape my guy. All right, and let's see. So let's start by putting the flash back in, because I kind of want this thing to operate, even though it doesn't have the camera, and I'm pretty much thinking that because the camera won't be attached, the device is just going to kind of flip out. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, I broke my solder connection for my power. Let's go back to that. Where are we at? Yep, broke the negative lead off. Let's get another piece of tape. Just to, we don't want that to happen. Let's get that soldered back on better. Yeah, you know, sometimes you solder good, sometimes you botch the whole damn thing. Alright, let's come back in. Such a tiny little solder job. Alright, there we go. Gonna probably need those tapes, but oh well. Alright, so let's get the flash back in the guy, and I think you just pull it one direction and you lift up. Pull it one direction. Okay, it's not lifting up. Uh-oh, what did I do? Oh, gotta push it. Gotta push it towards that, and then it lifts up. Okay. Lift that up, and then we just drop in our flash. Make sure it's in position. Push it back down, and then I guess we pull this way. Well, there we go. So now we got our flash back in. Cool. So we're, for all intents and purposes, ready to kind of bring on the power. So that's all ready to go. Now we're going to come over to our power supply and give us power. Now this system, I checked it earlier, runs on 4 volts. So I'm going to set this to 3.5 volts right there. And about 3.5. Okay. Put it on low current. And so we're going to connect this to my system over here. And I'm going to actually check the voltage real quick also to make sure with my meter, just to make sure that I'm under the 4 volt threshold that the battery gave me. There's regulators and all kinds of stuff in there that probably help kind of keep life good, but at the same time it's good practice to make sure you've got the right voltage, and especially because this is an analog feed, make sure we're in the safe zone first before you connect it. And we'll get some clip leads and we'll plug from there to our brand new power leads. Sweet. Okay, well, a little bit of change around of equipment, and now I've got my adjustable power supply set up and my voltmeter kind of telling me, kind of confirming what my analog read says. So I've got a good, and then I've got my meter and it's hooked up to the test, or my scope hooked up to the test right now. So everything's kind of ready to go. I'm not really certain what this is going to do when I turn it on. I mean, it's not going to be connected to the camera, so I don't know if it's going to complain or whine or break or explode. I mean, I'm pretty sure it won't explode, but, you know, at the same time, I don't know what it's going to do. So I'm going to use a couple clip leads here, and white is plus, so we're going to just kind of jump off our power right there over to here. Okay, so got plus power, and let's complete our circuit off of there. Okay, so in theory our little board should have power now, and in theory when I press the button it should do something. Okay, well, it went blue and then it went red, which typically indicates that it's doing something. When it starts flashing blue is when it says it's recording. So, or maybe it just goes solid blue. I'm not really certain what it does anymore. So, but we got power. Now, we're going to take our probe off of there. And what we're going to do is connect to ground. I'm going to need another jumper wire. Don't have any more colors, unfortunately. I'm wondering if it's complaining in the inside, just like error, 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 error. But anyway, so ground is over here, so we're just going to hook on ground there, and then hook ground into our probe. Okay, so white over here is should be our voltage before we go into the microphone. So something there. So let's take a look. If we come over and kind of, nope, nothing there. Thought it jumped. Let's see, menu 1, volt divisions. So it's set to 2 volts per division. Let's go 5 volts per division. Okay. So, alright. Let's hook on again. So I've got one cube above. I hook on. It jumps a little bit. You can see it there. Now, if I bump this up, there, that's something there. Doesn't look like there's anything of any kind of specialty of any kind. Not seeing any like wave form or anything, you know, anything special jump out at me. So that might just be power. I'm cool with that. Let's put it down below it and see if we get... Alright. Well, we got something. Not a whole lot of something, but we got something. So that might be the power going to it, which is so tiny. I mean, you're talking about... You're talking about literally 100 millivolts per cube. And it starts it starts almost right at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. About 400 millivolts. So there's 400 millivolts going to the speaker, or to the microphone. Which the circuit example again was like for a 5 volt system. So I don't really know what that means. So. Okay, so let's hook up to the other side, to the blue one, because in theory this should be the other side, and there should be voltage there as well, but it should be some kind of... Oh, did it fall off? Yep, it fell off. So it should be some kind of... Oh, it doesn't really want to hook on there. Okay, so I'll make it want to hook on there. We'll just fold him over. It's a little bit thinner of a wire, so... Just fold them over, give us something more to grab onto. Okay. And we'll come over and look at our scope. That's interesting. Without something attached again. There. Let's change our divisions. Let's give us a little more resolution. Go back to 1 volt per cube or per step. All right. We got nothing. Okay. Man, I wish I had a pair of camera glasses. Alright, let's hook on to there. And we got something. Got like a volt. Thing is, there's no real structure to it. There's no, I mean, there's just like buzz coming out of it. So if I yell, even if I yell at it, huh! Noise! Doesn't jump any. Maybe if we increase the time? No? Decrease the time? We should be seeing something. It should be, you know, having some kind of, you know, really what we should be seeing is an audio wave. There's nothing. I mean, there should be lots and lots and lots and lots of like little oscillations between ground and, I would imagine, I mean, that's what audio signals I've always seen kind of look like, is this going on. So there's nothing. Just looks like there's a brrr coming out, which would make sense because that's really what we hear when the scope, when it's hooked up. So I'm not really sure where to go from here. Does that mean the microphone is broken? I mean, there's something there, but really isn't anything to write home about. Well, a little fiddling around with the circuit board, and I actually kind of went in and removed the resistor that I thought goes to the microprocessor, and now I'm starting to think that it kind of went the other way, that was powering the whole circuit. I'm a little confused, I think, but I removed it and I took some video. I don't really know if that made it any better. It isn't any worse, and it still works. So I kind of feel like maybe I need to go backwards now again and kind of reanalyze the path from the other side of the microphone. However, I will also state that now the 500 millivolts I was seeing on the other side is completely gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So I've definitely broken the audio circuit. For good or for better or for worse, I've broken the audio circuit, and I guess I'm no worse off. I mean, it didn't work in the first place, but I guess I need to reevaluate and try and go through the other side of that circuit again, looking for where possibly that is from, and keep playing with it, I guess. So, using a couple of parts, I was able to kind of hack in a replacement 5K ohm resistor, which is closer to 4, but you know, okay. So, anyways, there's now a hacked-in little resistor replacing it, and I also replaced the trace with a piece of wire because the trace has actually been quite damaged in all of this playing around. So, in theory, now when I apply the power back, I should see that power again. I'm going to find out. So, with it hooked up, I can kind of, you can kind of see what's going on here. If I get the probe on there in the right spot. You can see on the scope, that's the output from the other side of that circuit. So it's a 500 millivolt jump, but it doesn't seem to really change that much. It's not like it's really oscillating. On the other side of that, we see the voltage after it goes through the resistor. So it's back to kind of where it was, which might just mean it's dumping out crap. So I'm going to look around and poke around and see if I can find like any potential spot where it might be going into the process. Eventually, this has to go into the processor. It has to eventually make its way in and be, you know, encoded. So I just don't know. So I look around, and if I look at the actual area where the microprocessor is, which is actually up by under the flash area here, that's where all of that stuff's happening. Or because right underneath the area where the audio circuit seems to be is this other chip, which is actually a RAM chip. So yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe the microphone itself is just broken or defective in some way, and that I should just remove it. I mean, I brought a pair of computer headphones, so I mean, I could, in theory, maybe hook these in there and see if I get anything out of it. But it just, voltage comes in and little voltage comes out, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything. So I think that's going to be my next thing, is just kind of maybe remove that. And again, if I produce a little bit of it, yeah. I'm trying to think, it's like if I somehow produce a signal and input it in that location right there, would that give me something? I don't know. So I pulled out my trusty headphones, and as you can see in the scope, I hooked up a couple of wires to where the microphone used to be, and then I hooked them to the connection of this, and so here we go. However, I did notice this. When we hook up our scope to the return lead, we can see if I yell, check! I actually fucking see something. Holy smokes. So that the microphone's working. I wonder how well. Guess I better hook the camera up.
Oh. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check. Checkity, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So it looks like that was the problem. It looks like just that little microphone portion was really the only problem. Really kind of sad in the fact that I tore off all the resistors and did all that kind of stuff just to find out it's just a faulty microphone. It's actually got too much gain now, but I guess it's designed to be inside a housing, so that kind of makes sense. So if there's like a digital gain involved, it's probably pulling it up significantly higher because you're trying to go from here to everyone around you because you're a spy. So that looks like what the problem was. I guess really all I need to do now is get a collection of either small headphones or microphones, or I don't know. I had this idea of maybe putting like a mic port on there so I could actually just plug in these headphones or something, but just don't really actually know how I want to do that yet. But there it is. That's as much as I can repair it today. I thought, again, I was thinking about opening up this camera area. Reality is, it looks like it's glued together, and it might get kind of nasty, and I might destroy it because there's a seam line right in there. You can see it right there. And I probably could get in there and try and crack it open and look at the camera, because I would like to see if I could solve that hewing, weird, plasticky, blah look, but for right now I'm actually quite happy